Hi everyone, my name is Luisa. I am a cosmetic chemist and I am also the founder of Luisa True Skincare, which is an actual skincare brand. Even though I am a chemist and I do formulate skincare formulation for a living, I want to tell you the truth, and the truth is that you can definitely start a cosmetic line without hiring someone like me. As promised, let's see 3 ways to start a skincare line without hiring a chemist. Number 1, private labeling. Private labeling is when you take an existing product that's already on the market, that's made by someone else, and you sell it under your own brand name. If you go on a website such as, for example, Essential Wholesale or makingcosmetics.com. There are some others, but these are just the 2 that I can think of. If you go on this website, you see that they sell what's called ready-to-label products, or they also call it as bases. Okay, these bases are basically products that are already made, and then you can just take and put it into your packaging and then start to sell. So when a product is called ready to label, means that you cannot do any further processing to that product, meaning that literally you just take it, repacked, and then sell it under your own brand. Vice versa, bases are a little bit more different. Bases of products that are finished products, but however they can be further customized by adding a little bit more of other ingredients. For example, there are some cream bases where you can add more, liquid ingredients. For example, you can add a fragrance, or you could add hydrating ingredient just to make the cream a little bit more hydrating, or you could add some natural extracts and for marketing purposes. Okay, so once you do that, meaning you have the base and you customize, it is true that the product that you are going to sell already exists on the market, but it's also true that it's one step further, and it's actually better because yes, it already exists, but at the same time you are kind of customizing it. So it's definitely better compared to having a product that's just the same thing and you just repack and start to sell. But again, it kind of depends on how involved you want to be in the process. If you don't feel like doing anything in terms of formulation and just want to focus on the business aspect of your brand, then ready-to-label products are the way to go. Conversely, if you let's say maybe you don't want to hire a chemist and you don't have the skills to formulate your own products, but you want to have something a little bit more unique, bases will be the way to go. There is another way of starting a cosmetic line without hiring a chemist, and it's just to use formulas that you find on the internet. Okay, and this again, if you don't want to do anything, just take the formulas and copy as they are and just start selling the product. Vice versa, if you want to add a little bit more, if you want to make them a little bit more customized, again, it's possible that you replace some of the ingredients with some other ingredients without losing any functionality. And then you sell these products. I actually have another video that shows you in details the way of doing this. I'm just gonna link it in the comments. Website where you can find formulas are everywhere on the internet. Making Cosmetics that I mentioned before, or Essential Wholesale, or Lotion Crafter. These are all websites that do offer some formulations. However, there's also a third option to find formulas, which I think is actually the best one. It is to go on the ingredient suppliers. They usually share a lot of formulas that have been made with their ingredients, and this is because they want to sell you their ingredients. So you can just take the formula, replace some of the ingredients, or if you don't feel like replacing the ingredients, just take the formula and use it at your own advantage. Most of the time, these formulas have been developed by real chemists and have also been tested. So these are high quality formulas that you can definitely use to start your cosmetic line. These are not the DIY formulas that I always preach against, okay? We are talking about professional formulas. It's just you're not gonna pay anything. The downside of these formulas is, again, that you are downloading them, and your neighbor could download them the same way, meaning that they are public, and potentially if you go on the market with using that formula, potentially your product is not going to be unique. But this is again up to you to make it unique. So please take one step further, add for at least a fragrance or some marketing ingredients, and make the formula more unique. However, always remember that formulation is not everything in this kind of business. Marketing is also super important, if not more important than the formula itself. So if you really cannot come up with a creative way of customizing the formula, remember that you can come up with a nice story for your brand, and that will work. That will still make you win compared to someone that has a very nice formula but just doesn't know how to sell and market their products. The last tip that I want to give you, again, if you want to start a skincare line without hiring a chemist, would be to use a product or start with a product that do not require any formulation. Now, again, I am a cosmetic chemist and I do formulate products for a living, but I just cannot lie to you. Like some products, for example, facial oils or body oils or makeup removers, they can be created by literally anyone. As long as you go on the internet, read a little bit of information about oils, this whole process is gonna take you approximately 30 minutes. And then you just have to, use your time and try to mix different oils in different ratios and see, do that until you get a product that you actually like and you think you could do well on the market. Again, facial oils, it's all about mixing different oils, and no particular skills are required. Trust me, you can definitely do that without hiring a formulator. And the same applies to basically other products that are super easy to make, like makeup remover. Some makeup removers are nothing but, again, oils. So, pick oils with strong selling names, mix them together, try to calculate the cost to make this kind of product, and then mass produce it and start to sell it. At the beginning, you don't even know. At the beginning, I would say that orders can also fulfill on at the beginning, you don't have to produce huge quantities of these oils or products. So anything can be, you don't need to hire a chemist or even working with a lab to manufacture this product. You can just make them to order, make them as people order them, and and start like that. So that will make the process of starting a cosmetic line very, very simple. Lastly, I want to remind you that don't feel like you are missing out if you don't have the money to hire a chemist, because this is really not the case. Every cosmetic line starts with one product, 2-3 products. So what you can do at the beginning is use these 3 tips that I just shared with you and start to sell, and then finally when you have the money to hire a chemist, great, there you will come up with even more great, awesome products. But again, it's very important that you start, and the fact that you start and you start to develop the skills that you're gonna need to succeed in this kind of industry is even more important than actually you hiring a chemist. So if you are on a limited budget, take the money you have, put it into marketing, and do not feel like you're missing out if you cannot afford to pay $5,000 to have a custom formula. It's totally fine if you can afford this at the beginning. Just start. I cannot stress this enough. It is so important that you start, okay? So start as soon as possible, start as soon as you can, start with what you have right now, but please start. I hope this video was useful for you. Let me know if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.